Hey there, commercial construction coffee talk fans. Thanks for chiming in. My name's David Corson. I'm your host. I'm also the publisher and editor. Let me grab the magazine here. This is what it used to look like when we printed it, and I'm pulling out the archives. This was issue 2, 2021. Co-founders for Calvera Skin Therapy. And let's see how big this one was. This one was 164 pages. And let's see what I was doing back then in June. When was this? This was second issue. Oh, I'm holding my Olympics 1980 when I was up there at Lake Placid. I'm flying my Patriot colors in the USA. But I had more hair. My hair wasn't as gray, but it's always nice holding the magazine in my hands, and there was a ton of stuff in here, but we went completely digital in August of 2021 and haven't looked back. Don't miss the printer, don't miss the post office. It's been an amazing ride, and we were just under 49 million people hitting the website. So thank you to all of you out there on the web finding us on and consuming our content. Couldn't have done it without you. And it's been an awesome transition from print face to face to becoming a digital guy. And I'm a content creator, these guys, but I still build them. I'm a builder. I still build a magazine. I just don't do it with paper and ink. I do it with, technology plugins and software. And, and then I'm building my house. I'm finishing up. So this afternoon, I'll put my hard hat on and go up there and play contractor and see what's going on. And so I'm a busy beaver these days, just trying to get things done. And uh, it I can't wait to put the splash of the house in the magazine. It's going to be great when we finish it. It'll probably go in either in May or June once we get everything done. But it's been an awesome experience dealing with the municipalities, going through the permitting process. So cumbersome. They've got to fix it. You should be able to get your permits in 2 weeks, not 4 months. And but the county actually was pretty cool with me because it was our first, ground up build and through the inspection process and all the different things you have to deal with. So it was actually it's been fun, learning and passing the inspections and I like building. But I build a magazine. Now I'm just building houses and we're going to keep on doing it. So because there's a housing shortage, if you haven't heard. There's not a lot of houses out there, so we got to do something about it. So Corson and Son Building Group, we're gonna and we're gonna get her done for you. So today I've got a nice lady. She was out of Michigan, but now she's in Northwest Wisconsin. I like her name is Kimberly Kayler, and she's the president of AOE. Kimberly and I have known each other forever, so say hello to our audience out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk from Northwestern Wisconsin on the lake.
Hel- Hello, everybody. Excited to be here today. And David, this is great fun. Our careers have intersected over the last couple of decades. So
Yeah, I was gonna say about 20, 25 years. I don't even know where I don't even know where we met. Did we meet on a trade show? I probably came by your
I'm
booth and
sure
said,
we
"Hey,
did.
scan my badge," right?
Yeah,
I don't
probably.
know, but it's always listen. I had a guy the other day on my podcast. He's been in retail for like 55 years, and he said, "Hey, my first job I got at 1962, probably before you were born." I was like, "Oh my God, I was born in 63. You were so close." And I was like, "Nick, how long have I known you?" And he's like, "Oh, David, I've known you, 30 years probably." And he looks the same. So me, we're just got a little less hair and a little grayer, but it's so nice to see people that are still in the industry that you've known and you haven't touched base and here we are. So the way we're going to do our episode is we do it in three parts, Kimberly. You're going to tell your story, where you grew up, married, kids, sports, where you went to school, and how you ended up where you are today. And then we'll talk about lessons learned of the roller coaster that we've all been on over the last 4 to 5 years, and
Sure.
any cool trends that you might see out there from a marketing perspective. And then you'll leave your contact info, and then you'll leave one positive thought or phrase, and then we'll close it out. So, with that said, the floor is yours. Tell us your
Okay.
story.
Awesome, David. Again, it's really exciting to be here today. My story, I'm an Army brat, and I'm very proud of that. My dad served for 27 years. And even though I call Phoenix home and that's where I started out and lived till I was 12, I bounced around the country quite a bit. And by the time I was 18, I had seen All 48 states. I had not seen Alaska or Hawaii yet, but knocked those off pretty quickly too. So I'm very nomadic spirit, if you will. Very disciplined. I went to University of Arizona for undergrad, got a journalism degree. Interestingly enough, I had an internship with the College of Engineering and Mines and got a little bit of a taste of, how fun it would be to actually use my journalistic skills in this industry. That wasn't really my career path, but looking back now, it really helped plant a seed. And after college, moved to Dayton, Ohio, got married, ended up in Dayton, and went to work for an engineering firm. It was early 1995, and there weren't a lot of journalism jobs at the time. So I got a job at an structural engineering firm with the thought that I'm going to do this till I can get a real job, you know, and absolutely fell in love with the industry. Absolutely fell in love with it. Went on from there to work for a larger engineering architecture firm. Um, and then started my own company in 2001. I saw a need for a marketing agency that specialized specifically in the design and construction industry. So I started my company the day before 9/11, which seemed like a really good idea on September 10th. And the next day I woke up and obviously it was a, really, really tough time to start a business. But I was very, very fortunate that my work that I had done from the engineering firm for some of the concrete associations in the industry, immediately signed on as clients and haven't looked back since. So fast forward here to 2025, got a team of about 80 or so, marketing agency, but we also do strategic planning, all things marketing, and then also association management. So we manage some of the associations in the industry, some of the associations that you may actually belong to. Personally, I have two children, two adult boys. One is proudly serving in the Air Force as a navigator. The other one's a professional bodybuilder. The two could not be more different, as you can well imagine. And I'm happily married and living on a lake in Northwest Wisconsin. So that's my scoop.
Well, you and I have a lot in common because I was in New York on 9/11, and then Nielsen bought us out in 99, and then that honeymoon lasted about 18 months, and then right after 9/11, they whacked about I'd say about 50 magazines out of the portfolio. And then my little
Sure.
construction book that I launched had gotten the axe. And that year, my son was born when I launched that in 99. So I still considered it kind of like my kid. So I flew up to New York and met with the president of Nielsen, Mike Marchesano. Mike, if you're listening out there, how's it going? And I sat down and I said, Mike, you need to sell me the magazine. And he goes, Oh, David, you could retire here. We all love you. You know that. And I said, I'm going on the road for a week down to Dallas. I'm going to meet with Radio Shack and a couple other companies. Radio Shack, if you don't know, if you're out there, that used to be a huge brand.
Yeah.
Had them on my cover way back when in the beginning days. But anyway, I went on the road. I came back. I go, you go sell me the company. They thought I was bluffing, and they said no. I said, here's my resignation. I resigned December 17th, 2001. Put my first issue out in 2 months with Home Depot on the cover when they were building about 140 stores a year. And I had Mark Beers, the director of construction, on the cover. He got jazzed because he had this 2x4 and he had his apron on, his orange apron, and the 2x4. And he was looking cool in front of the store. But uh, here I am, 25 years later, and I'm still standing. And my stepdad, you lived in Dayton, so Weber Jewelers, right? You heard of them?
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
So, so I did, we built, we had the store downtown. We had all the Osterman jewelers. And then when he married my
Okay.
mom, he didn't, my mom's like, in retail, you have to keep building stores or whatever. So he sold that to another jewelry chain. And we kept the downtown stores in the building downtown. And then they built the Citizens Federal building. We built another store there. And then we opened up one down by the Dayton Mall. And, then I think it was either Mead or I forget a couple anchors downtown in Dayton pulled out and downtown kind of died. And
Right.
so he had that store forever. We sold the new store that we built, got rid of that one, and then we just kept the one down by the Dayton Mall. And he had three kids, and then I went into the business. I got GIA certified, built the store, and then I said, you know what? Jewelry's not my gig. I just can't sit behind this counter all day and wait for customers to come in. And so fast forward, he had three kids and his one daughter went into the business, and she decided she didn't want to deal with it. And then they ended up, closing the doors after 50 some odd years in Dayton, and uh, it's so important to have an exit plan. As if you're an entrepreneur and
Yep.
if you don't have siblings, and it was just one of those things. It wasn't sad because he made plenty of money. He was successful. He was going to run for governor of Ohio, and he would have probably won. He was on the city commission in Dayton. He was on the chairman of the board of Miami Valley Hospital and all that stuff. And my mom didn't want to get drugged through the newspaper of all the stuff that they say about you. She's like, "You're not running. Forget about it. You've had your political gig, and I'm glad because everybody's got skeletons in their closet, so it's just reality of it. And the newspapers or the media, they can just make life miserable for you. And so he took my mom's input and put that to rest. But yeah, Dayton, it's a cool little town, just north of Cincy, and they've done a good job with building it up, and all that area down by the Dayton Mall and out by right
By
past,
right, Pat. Yep.
yeah, yeah, and Wright State. And so you and I are, when you said that Dayton, I was like, oh yeah, that's right, you were from Dayton. I forgot about that. And
Hmm.
so but starting everybody told me not to start my company. They told me to stay there. I had an expense account. Don't do it, don't do it, don't do it. My parents. And I was like, look, if I don't do this, I'm going to hate myself. And I just went for it. And 9 out of 10 companies don't make it. I would, but I kind of, I was an athlete, so I had thick skin, and I just went for it. And and I knew how I wanted to run my company. Working for the big corporations and all the other things that I did over my life, I just knew kind of how I wanted to run it. And I didn't want to have people work for me. I wanted to work with them because I knew there's no I in team. So it was a teamwork gig, but I wanted to know how to do everything, whether it was editing or being the artist or laying out the magazine or, writing press releases or all that stuff. So I've done everything that you can imagine as a publisher. And, now I'm a digital guy. So I took some classes over the last couple of years and got myself certified, and here I am. But your story, when you want to do something and you find your niche, if you like what you do, your days go so much faster and they're just so much nicer if you like what you do, right?
That's true. That's very true.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yep. So, um, talk about, uh, you know, March 2020, 5 years ago, basically, almost. As
Hmm.
we're speaking, we're going to go into March next week. And I remember I was up in Milwaukee looking for hotels for my third quarter retreats that I was doing. And everything got shut down. I flew home and, kind of sat back and had to take just scary stuff, because no one really knew what the heck was going on. They said it'd be a
Right.
couple weeks, couple months. Here I am 5 years later, and I'm still talking about it. And we were in Georgia, so we were one of the first states that kind of really, opened. And it was it was tough making it, the transition. It was very scary after being print, and you're going to go out and just go digital. I was worried about my advertisers, my subscriber base, but a lot of people stuck with me, and it was it, I, I'll tell you, I would get up in the middle of the night in April. My wife would be, "Where are you going?" It's 4 o'clock in the morning. I'm like, I can't sleep. I've got to make some decisions, and and then you just have to roll the dice and let the chips fall where they may. But it's been an amazing, amazing time. I learned so much about my company, myself, my family, that work life, balance.
Balance, right. Sure.
And then I'm an old dog, so I could learn some new things. And it really was an amazing time. And so many companies that I've talked to over the last couple of years, they've all said, it's been probably the most prosperous years that I've had. If they made the flexibility and the changes that they needed to do, uh, and um, just in general, uh, a learning experience. I learn something new every day. The day you stop learning is the day you should go do something else. 'Cause as a Taekwondo guy, you learn, you could be a fourth degree black belt. Hey, go get your fifth. You're always learning. And uh, it it really was an amazing time. So you probably went through the same thing that I was going through because no one really knew what the heck it was. You know, it was different when the economy fell off the cliff in '08 because everything was still open. It was just people were getting
Right,
laid off, you know,
right.
and it was a mess. And here, no one knew what was going on, and that was the scariest thing. Although the first thing I did was redo my porch. I got my son. I went out and got some lumber or whatever. I said we're going to do redo this thing, and if I would have done it 2 months later, the two by fours I bought were going to be like 5 times the price. And and then I remember my son, he's like, Dad, you should be a contractor. I'm like, I come from a construction family. I've done all this stuff. He goes, you should be a contractor. I go, I'm a builder. I build a magazine, you know? And so uh, talk about how you kind of weathered the storm, because it's always
Sure.
nice to hear what was, in people's heads during that whole time period.
So one of the things you said actually reminded me of something that a mentor had taught me actually in the '08 recession was simply just don't waste a good crisis. You know, and to your point, the organizations that did a good job of like looking at what they were doing and figuring out what adaptations they needed to make, whether it was in workforce development or how they approached the market. One of my specialties is crisis communications. So I was actually really, really busy because most associations, most contractors, engineers, architects did not have any sort of crisis plan. They may have thought they had a crisis plan because they had something for OSHA. You know, they had the job site, the safety crisis type of variation of it. And so many organizations were really struggling with what I call decision fatigue because they had let's drag everyone into the conference room or the virtual conference room. We have to make another decision with regard to how we operate the business, what changes we make, what do we do, how do we respond? And they didn't know how to actually go through what do we want to make sure we're communicating to our employees? What do we need to make sure we're communicating to our other partners in the design and construction industry? What do we need to communicate to potential employees? And so that was one of the things where we were able to help them guide through. Otherwise, so many organizations, it's again, the next order would come out and you'd have to figure out, gather everybody again. How are we doing this? And people were tired. They were tired of making decisions. So one of the great things that's come out of it is organizations actually having a better feel for how do we want to communicate? Who do we need to communicate with? What does being an employer of choice look like? You know, we have 5 generations in the workforce for the first time. Baby boomers were just replaced last year as the largest generation in the workforce. So, and I don't think it's enough. I've been in this industry for 30 years. Workforce development has been an issue since the day I showed up. Um, I don't believe as an industry we've made much traction. There's some really wonderful programs out there. There's some great programs with trade schools. There's great programs, the Concrete Industry Management Program, which we do a lot of work with. So there's some great efforts, but making like wholesale substantial progress on workforce development needs to happen. And that's one of the things that's also come out of the last couple of years is looking at how do we attract people to this industry? How do we become better employers of choice? What are we communicating? It's not enough just to say, oh, the young people, they don't join, they're not involved, they're not engaged. That's not true. And they are engaged. Their engagement it looks different,
Yeah.
So lessons learned the last couple of years, those are the things that pop up for me in terms of
Yeah.
companies.
Yeah. My son, he was a good lacrosse player. I thought he was going to go, and he they had a shop class, and he didn't have the grades. And it was his junior year. We went in, met with the high school, and they said, "Well, he doesn't have the mathematics skills." I said, "There's like 3,500 kids in this public high school," and we got him into the talking about Army brat. There's a military prep school up here called Riverside Academy up on the lake. It's just like 30 minutes away. Anyway, we got him in there, and he was going to be in the hotel company. They were waiting for him. They were recruiting for lacrosse players. I'm like, Brody, dude. You're gonna be right across the lake. As long as you get, you have good grades, the commander's gonna let you, come home. You can bring all your buds. We'll have room at the house. You can keep your car up here as long as your grades stay good. You're gonna learn how to march. You're gonna learn how to do all this stuff, make your bed, and you'll have brotherhood the rest of your life. And I come from a military family too. So my grandfather was underneath Patton in World War II. He was a combat engineer. He built all the bridges in World War II and the Allies.
Awesome.
And so I come from, I wasn't an army brat, but I understand what that is. So, moving around and, saying goodbye to your friends, here's your new friend in your new town and all that stuff. But they weren't going to put him in the shop class. And I said, look, so we yanked him out and we homeschooled him. Well, you did online for a senior year, but he went and worked in the garage and waitered and this and that. And first, he was going to be an auto tech. I said, if you don't have your own shop, you're not going to make money. Then he wanted to be a motorcycle tech. I said, look, you got to do it someplace warm where they ride all year. And then we took this tour of this place called AIM, Aviation Institute of Maintenance. And in the aviation field, there's about 600,000 people are going to retire that work on jets,
Mm.
airplanes, and, fixed wing, helicopters, etc. And uh, you learn sheet metal woodworking, avionics, anything that has a jet engine to your program. And a lot of his friends went to become pilots for Delta at Middle Tennessee State. And his first day of class, one of his buds texted him and said, "Hey, my professor just said they need more maintenance techs than we need pilots." And like when the roller coaster started in March of 2020, all the planes you can't just let a plane sit on the runway, on the tarmac. It's got to be
Right.
serviced every day. It won't be flyable. And so I said, look, you're going to have job security. You can always go get your license, which he did. So after he graduated, Delta hired him, and he's on his first day. He had a recruiter call him and said, "Hey, we'll pay you 5 times what Delta's paying. Boeing in Charleston needs like 9,000 people." And so he went. He called me. He goes, "What should I do, Dad?" I go, "What'd your boss say?" He goes, "My boss told me to get the hell out of here and go to Charleston and live at the beach." So I said, "Well, come home." So he went online, found this guy. My wife and I, they drove over to Charleston, and he was there for 3 years. And first year he was in the plant working on 787s, and then job opened up as a flight ops specialist on the tarmac. So he worked on all the planes that came out of the plant, or they were delivered, or they were coming back for some repairs. So he could work on anything. Some days he'd be in the wheel well, some day he'd be up in the cockpit, and spent 3 years there. And now he's down in Dallas working for FlexJet and on their fleet. Um, and I thought I was going to hear this like 20 years from now, but I had him on my podcast. Maybe it was last year, maybe it was the year before. Time's flying. Anyway, he said, "Hey, Dad, I would have never gotten that job at Boeing if you weren't hard on me." And I was like Sergeant Carter. I coached him in all the sports, and I was never played daddy ball and any of that stuff. And he's like, "I would have never gotten that job if you weren't hard on me to give me thick skin." And as a father, as a parent, my job is to make sure when they're ready to leave the nest, that they're prepared to go out into the real world. Because when you go out into the real world, going to college, yay, it's fun, it's all that, but it's not realistic. It's kind of that whole environment. It's a good time, but when you get out into the real world, you got to be on time. You got to have that. It's just vicious. And being an athlete, I kind of knew that gig with winning and losing. You don't lose, you learn. You win and you learn. I don't even use lose in my verbiage anymore. And so when I went through that with him, now we put a student newsletter in our magazine where if I can plant the seed, and you have to plant that seed, in fifth to eighth grade, in my opinion,
Totally. Yep.
with kids. And I was coaching in the roller hockey league and the lacrosse league, and I was on the board. And I would just tell people, hey, listen, if your kid does not know what he wants to do, he should do two things. Either join the Army, the Marines, or the Armed Forces. You'll have a roof over your head, you'll get 3 square meals a
Yep.
day, you'll learn lead, and you'll learn a skill. And if you want to stay in, you can. If not, you can take it. And there's so many companies that are looking for, vets, or, uh, you go the trade school route. And, And the most important, because what happens is when they get in, they start, oh, well, Florida State's got this cool commons and the pool, and you should see they've got all this stuff. And they come out with these pieces of paper that aren't worth anything. And it's so expensive. And now look, I went to University of Denver. I was a hockey player and I was a lacrosse player. That's why I went there. I went there to play sports, and I wanted to play professional hockey, so that's why I went there. But looking back, and I have an economics and I have a political science degree. So why I didn't
Hmm.
become a lawyer, I have no idea, but that's what it was. And anyway, when I look back, all of those things, but working with your hands is all he wanted to do. So my emphasis these days is trying to go and get as many kids to go into the trade side because we need welders, we need superintendents, we need
We
woodwork,
do.
HVAC techs. I can go down the list. And we're not going to get anywhere because everything's going to get built. And don't talk about AI. Someone built AI, okay? And it's going to, listen, robotics are going to come in, but someone's got to build those robots. Maybe it'll be robots building robots, but the original robot's going to have to get built by a man. And and I'm sure AI will take away from some of the jobs out there. So everybody out there, it's thinking, oh, my job's getting replaced. It's possible, but AI is making construction so impressive. And I think with that AI over the last couple of years, I don't even think we'd be where we are today. I mean, it's just been so amazing of a piece of technology that you can use. I mean, heck, I use it every day. I mean, just posting stuff, making sure my I have my posting department. They'll put something in there. The meta tag is only allowed to have so many characters, and it's got to have this and that. They put it in there. Hey, chat, tell me what this title should be. Boom, boom, done. And I still write my column. I use it up here, but I might ask you for a couple of ideas. And but
Hmm.
it's an amazing thing. But skilled labor. If and we were in demolition and steel recycling. My family's been in business since 1888, so it's like sixth or seventh generation. My cousins are running the company these days. I probably could have been running if I wanted to stay there, but I shoveled asbestos, I laid railroad tracks, I did all sorts of stuff, and it. But everything that I learned there, I took and I've applied it kind of, as
Sure.
I've gotten older. And but skilled labor is so important. And um, the biggest thing is the young people these days think that they get hired and they want to be the president, but they don't want to go through the rigmarole of, working your way through the ranks or learning. And like myself, I went off and did my own gig. Not everybody can do that. And um, but there is such a need for skilled labor. So that's kind of been my emphasis that, when I put out my newsletter, it's called Construct EDU, that I just tell people, look, if you know someone that's between fifth and eighth grade and they don't really, if you can tell kids, I could go up into the media room and I could have six of his friends sitting on the sofa. Okay, you're going to be a doctor, you're going to be a pilot, you're going to go to jail. I don't know what's going to happen. I know what you're going to do. And they all did exactly the one kid went to jail. So I just knew it. He's a troublemaker. But skilled labor, there are a lot of plumbers that are millionaires. There's electricians, I mean,
Yeah.
you could pick your fancy as far as becoming a skilled laborer. But blue collar, it had a bad oh, blue collar, white collar is the way to go. Let me tell you, they're both synonymous. One has to help the other to get stuff done. And but that fifth to eighth grade is so important to get them just to plant the seed, either become
Hmm.
skilled labor or go into the armed forces and then come out and do something. So uh, I'm right there with you on that skilled labor because there are so many people that are going to retire. And if we don't fill those holes, our country's not going to have the golden age that they're talking about because
Right.
we need the people out there to build,
Yep.
right?
Yep. For sure.
So your kids, one's a bodybuilder and the other one's in the Air Force. So did he enlist or did he do ROTC or any of that?
He did ROTC, so he's a second lieutenant, about to be first lieutenant. He's stationed in Pensacola, being a navigator. They call it different now, but if you think back to Top Gun, he's Goose, if you will.
Yeah, he's in the back seat.
Y-
Yeah.
yeah, so he's a mechanical engineer by training, University of Cincinnati grad. And then my oldest son gave college a try year after year after year. It was never for him. And it's one of my biggest regrets because he told me all along, it's not for me. But I had this paradigm in my mind that, no, you have to go to college, like we're just talking about here, like getting rid of the stigma of not going to school and taking a different career path. He's a successful social media influencer, fitness influencer now. Very scrappy, hard path to get there. He worked to get to where he's at. Some really rough years, but didn't finish college. And again, my biggest regret is I didn't listen along the way when he kept telling me this isn't for me. So,
Oh yeah. Hey, listen, I remember having my he had to get up early in the morning to get to class. 7 o'clock, I think the high school started, and he wasn't that far away. And I had to drag him out of his bed every day because he just hated school. He didn't want to learn history. He didn't want to learn English. It just wasn't his gig. And he was flipping cars. And when he got his license, he was flipping bikes. He was doing all this stuff. I tried to tell
right.
that to the school, and they didn't listen to me.
Yeah.
And I was like talking to a wall. They just didn't comprehend. I said, look, I took him out in 2015. I got my DU logo. I went to University of Denver. Anyway, we won the national championship in lacrosse. First time I went, the national championship trophy was west of the Mississippi. So I flew out for the alumni weekend. I played in the alumni game, and I showed him my fraternity and the school. And then on Sunday they had the top 150 recruits in the country that were basically on the junior USA team. But they had them all there, and Coach Tierney, I said, look, can my kid you know go to this class or whatever that you're running on? Say, oh yeah, bring them. Tell them to bring all stuff. So we go on the alumni game I play, and I'm out there with all these guys, and then we went to the dinner and saw everybody get the rings, which was awesome. But the next day, they had the clinic, and at lunchtime, he came back, or there was a break in the morning, and he came. He goes, "Dad, I don't belong here. I'm just a Georgia cornhole man. All these guys have Nike bags and all this stuff, and I'm like Brody. Did you see me playing with Westberg yesterday and JJ and Morosco? I mean, all these guys are professional lacrosse players. I even faced off first because I was one of the oldest guys out there. But I can catch a throw just like those guys can, except I'm older and I've had two ACLs replaced. But you can do the same thing. Just because you don't have a Nike Team USA bag sitting on the sidelines,
Right.
that you got to get rid of that stigma because I want you to go in the scrimmage this afternoon. I want you to let the top player out there, you give him a couple of whacks with your pole and and just let him know who you are because you might see him down the road. And and after it went out, he came and he goes, "Man, that was awesome." I said, "Look, you can catch and throw just like all those other guys. It's not what you don't have, it's what you do with what you have. And as long as you're doing it and you have the right attitude and you're positive, you're gonna do it." So I had grandioso that he was gonna, and that lasted a couple of days, wore off real quick, because I was talking, look, D1 athlete, they own you, they know where you're gonna be. It's like a business. And and after they won the national championship, it was crazy. So, but that's how I knew right there and then he wasn't going to go to college. I'm going to pause this for a second. I think someone's at my door. Can you hold on one
Okay.
second?
Yep, no problem.
I'm going to put a 3, 2, 1 so I have this marker here. Hold on one second. 3, 2, 1. So I went through the skill trades with my son, and it was an amazing thing. And but let's talk about some of the marketing things. We're both marketers. So what are some of the trends that you see for construction out there? As we go into the last month of the first Q1, and then for the remainder of the year in 2025.
Well, obviously, social media is here to stay. So for those that are still trying to figure out like what it is and how it works, I know we went through a phase for a while where the answer was just to hire a young person to do it. And I really encourage everybody, if you haven't already, play with it a little bit, understand it, own it. But where we're seeing success, and I'm sure David, you can talk about this as well, is going back to just understanding what your message is. Don't just be pumping stuff out there. Those that are really successful are the ones that actually stop and pause like anything else. I mean, you would never go to a trade show without figuring out What do we want to communicate? What are the who are we trying to attract? Who do we want to talk to? What are the key messages we want them to walk away with? Same thing has to happen with social media. If you're doing any sort of other digital advertising, is to stop and pause. I think that's the biggest mistake I see in the industry with regard to marketing is jumping on the next marketing tactic, the next tool, the next cool gee whiz thing without stopping and pausing and saying, okay, how are we different? What are we trying to communicate? Who's our audience? I know that sounds really obvious, but that step is skipped so very often.
It's like tires. They all have treads. They're
Yep.
all round. They're all circular. What makes one better than the other? And you don't want to ever drop your price. You want to keep it up or increase it, offer the value, and all those other things. And I'm a publisher. I'm just an independent. I was going up against McGraw-Hill and all these big guns, and uh, you really just have to have a passion. You got to like what you do, number one. But number two, uh, just with technology, just like AI, don't be scared of technology. You got to blow
Right.
through the fear. The fear
Yep.
factor is going to hold everybody back. I mean, there are contractors that still don't even have a smartphone. I mean, they're probably using a slide rule and all that stuff. Not that that's a bad thing, but I did that in eighth grade in shop class. That's no longer. So I know how it works, but it's just you just have to blow through technology. And with technology, the way it's working, it's at warp speed. So anything that you learn, like I remember when I was taking the digital classes, this influencer said, everything that I teach you today in 6 months will be obsolete
Right.
because everything is going so quickly. And but once you get rid of the fear, it's push button 101. That's all it is. When you're looking at these different plugins or platforms or whatever you're using, it's pretty much all the same stuff. But you gotta have fun, and you can't have fear, and you're gonna make mistakes. There's gonna be things that you don't do. If you're not making mistakes, you're not pushing yourself hard enough, and that's just
True.
the athlete in me. But you should be making mistakes every day, because if you're not gonna learn. And listen, nothing's easy, but it's not that scary. I can think of a lot. Listen, becoming a doctor, becoming an open heart surgeon, that's just sounds like an amazing thing, but it's just not for me. But I can go in there and find where the bug is. I can go in the back end of WordPress and look at that stuff and be a surgeon and look at it and go, oh yeah, there it is. There's the freaking malicious thing, man. Let's get rid of it. And uh, I just think technology, you can't be scared of it. And you do association. So when I was an association guy, I was worrying about the eggs being hot. Do we pick the right hotel? Do I have the right speakers? And are they, do we have the accreditation set up? I mean, all of that stuff. And if you don't do it first class, image is everything. So you can't control the weather. So you're going to have people that miss flights. You're going to have people that have snowstorms, but doing events and being a marketing, everybody has their own thing of what they think marketing is. Marketing is the lifeblood of your business. So I just tell people these days, if you don't have a social media presence in 2025, you're crazy because the web is 8 billion people on the planet. They're all on there. Why shouldn't they buy it from you? You've just got to be out there to get yourself out there on page one on Google and be able to be found and be able to show that, hey, you're concerned that you want to take these people and scale their business and be able to get more traffic and get more leads
Yeah.
and help them grow your business. And once again, you can say, hey, I helped you. That guy, I started with him. He didn't even know what SEO stood for. That's search engine optimization for you that don't know out there. That's how Google finds you. But the bottom line is there are people that don't even know that, but they go through everything and then they become, and you don't have to be a computer genius. Listen, I don't want to learn how to code, but I know how to do it. But I don't want to do that. I have someone that does that. I like clipping, so I do my own videos. But some of the other things that I do with projects that we'll do, I shop that stuff out to the people that we work with because that's what they like to do. And I always put it like, hey, if you need a plumber, you don't call an electrician, you call a plumber. So if you need someone to do some Google ads, call a guy that does it every day because he does it every day. Like we just got these 22 doors for the interior of the house. My wife goes, you can hang those. You can do it. You can put the hardware in. I'm like, babe, listen to me. I'm hiring a door guy to come in. He does it every day. He can put them in. He can hang them. Totally worth the money. I don't want to do it. All right. I don't have time to do it, number one, but I could do it, but I don't want to do it. I want to hire someone and let them do it because they're a specialist. That way I know it's done. I don't have to worry about leveling them. They're gonna flow nice and easy. The hardware's gonna look beautiful. Let him do it. And listen, I've done some things up there, but a lot of the subs, I just, it's like when the concrete. I didn't know much about concrete. What's the slurry test? Tell me what that is. Why are you doing that? I was a pain in the ass when the concrete guys, because I was up there every day videoing and looking and asking questions, and just because I wanted to know. Because if I go down the road, guess what? I'm going to use you because you did a good job, but I also want to know how it's done. So as I built my digital agency, just like you're doing
Yeah.
yours, I just wanted to make sure I knew how everything worked. So even though I don't do it every day, but I do it every day. I'm working on my own channel. That it's definitely the more you know, the better off you are. It's like a lacrosse. I always put it to athletics. If you're a specialist and you're just a scorer, yeah, you're great on the team. But I'll take a guy that can be the goalie, the defenseman, the midfielder, the attackman, the face-off guy. I'll take those guys that can do all of those things because when you get into college, you might come in as an attackman and the coach will say, "Hey, I need midfielders. You're going to run up and down the field." But coach, I'm an attackman. No, you're a midfielder now. Okay? This is where the big boys play. All right? And only the best players play. And so I always looked for the person that, that was more of an all-around person. And like in
Hmm.
the old guys league, I would listen, if the goalie didn't show up, guess what? I was the manager of the team. I would go in the net. Even though I didn't want to go in there to get pelted by a ball going 110 miles an hour and get black and blue arms. But it's just one of those things you got to know how to do it. And I think technology, though, that's just the scary thing. People hear technology like, "Oh, I don't want to do that." Just take it, fast on, look forward, blow through it, get it done, make your mistake, learn, and move on. Um, Talk about the associations. Do you see more associations coming out there? Or are they, going by the wayside, or as time passed by, or what do you
I
think?
don't see any associations necessarily disappearing, but many, whether it's on a national basis or a regional basis, and we work with both, are in many cases struggling because they need to figure out what their membership value is at this time, and that's not a new issue, that's not a new problem. But again, when we've got these different generations, what does it look like? The younger generations don't necessarily want to go away for a 5-day conference, be away from their families. Again, going back to they want to be engaged, but their engagement looks different. And I get really frustrated when I hear, "Oh, young people, they're not engaged." And no, we have to stop saying that. What does their engagement? How could we have them interact? They may not want to volunteer. They may not want to volunteer in, on a technical committee. They want to be doing other things. So creating new opportunities for them is really key. Even going back to social media or other ways for them to interact with each other, for them to share from the network is really, really key too.
Yeah, when the roller coaster started, uh, and we went digital, I looked at my son and he didn't even know what a magazine was. I mean, he did, but first of
Right.
all, he goes, "Dad, you going to give me the company?" I said, "No, you got to go get work for someone else and get fired a couple times because I
Yeah.
want you to know what the real world's like. When you don't produce, there's the door. Don't let it hit you in the tail on the way out." But uh, uh, the that whole concept of old school versus the younger generation. I mean, he's like he didn't know what a magazine was, so he's looking at it on his watch, on his phone. Uh, Everything's done on chat or whatever they were on, and you look at the old. I guess I'm a baby boomer. 63. Is that what am I a baby boomer? Am I in that category?
Yeah, you are.
I'm like
Yeah.
I'm like right on the bubble.
Your
Anyway,
bubble. Yeah.
yeah, I'm on the bubble. So when I look at myself, and then I look at the younger generation, um, they pick up technology a lot quicker than the old folks do. Okay, I'm calling myself old here. So, but it's reality. I'm not ashamed that I'm 62. I'll be 62 this year, and but it's fun. It's engaging, and when you master technology, and you're like, oh my God, it actually worked. I got everything to work, and one thing isn't set up correctly, it won't work. and you got to go in and figure out where it is. And I always look at it, it's just like a construction project. It's just using technology, but it is scary for some people. And but the younger generation, they want to they're I think they're more introverted than they are extroverted, and they kind of want to hang in their cube. They're set in their ways, and it's just a whole different mindset of the way, like myself, I just want to get things done and move on versus they're like you said, I don't want to go to a conference for 5 days. Why do we have to stand at the booth? That just looks
Right.
stupid that we're scanning badges and then you know, I remember so many trade shows. I would go and I would go, okay, I went by 150 booths. I picked up 95 cards. Then I'd come back and I would wait and watch of how many of those people would follow up with me. And here I am, an editor, publisher. I can give them free content, PR, and probably less than 15% of them would follow up with me. And I was saying to myself, you spent all that money shipping your
Sure.
booth,
Yep.
travel, T&E, hotel, out of the office, and then you get all these leads and then you don't follow up with them. I'm like, as a publisher, I'm like the best person you would totally want to follow up with. Send me something. I'm gonna put it up on the web. I'm gonna send you the URL. It's all SEO done. It's indexed. Just share it and you'll get traffic. And but it's like talking a different language, with someone that's just not there. And if you have a marketing person and they have their act together, that's the person that you want to keep in your company, as far as
Mm.
I'm concerned these days, especially if they're social media savvy. That is so, whether you're running a contractor or running an association, and
Yep.
your message is so important. And your message doesn't have to change. You just have to kind of give it that, you might have business for 30 years. Well, you got to give it a 2025 flair, but you're still doing the same thing, right?
Right. Right.
Yeah. So, what's the coolest project or marketing gig that over your career that you did that you're proud of?
Um, I think tying back, there's a lot. We've worked with about 75 different organizations in the AEC industry, but I think what comes to mind probably is the concrete industry management program, because it's a nice fit. It's a way for us to tackle the workforce development problem we have in our industry. We've worked with the CIM program for about 16 years, just in helping promote careers in concrete. So it's a nice fit for everything we've done with all of the associations, architects, engineers, and contractors, helping them with their auction, their marketing efforts. So,
Awesome, awesome. So listen,
yeah,
if you're out there, hey, listen, I'm a marketing guy, but look, if you're looking for a marketing person, maybe you have an association and it needs a facelift or it needs to, go in a different direction, or hey, maybe it's going wrong, you just want to change a pace. And there's nothing wrong with bringing some new fresh thoughts, through the front door. If someone was out there on Commercial Construction Coffee Talk and they wanted to reach out to you, how would they connect with you on the web?
so AOEteam.com, and we have a lot of resources. We blog a couple of times a week. We have a lot of webinars as well, and then also a podcast, which David will have to have you as a guest on,
Awesome.
advancing excellence. So encourage you to reach out there.
Cool, cool. And so listen, if you're out there, listen, if I can't help you, Kimberly can. We're both in, I do some things that she doesn't do. She does some things that I don't do.
Yeah.
So, yeah, and we're fellow podcasters. We're birds because we're really not competitive. Everybody goes on everybody else's show, and it's just a nice, friendly family gig. And it's not going anywhere. It's here to stay as far as I'm concerned. If anybody wants to reach me, I'm at David C at CCR-mag.com. And listen, I've known Kimberly, but we got the PR piece, and publicist reached out and was like, "Oh, Miss Kayler, I haven't talked to her for a while, and yeah, let's have her on." And we went back and forth, and then here she is. So listen, if you don't send me something, it's like playing the lottery. If you don't buy a ticket, you can't win. So if you don't send me something, I can't look at it. And listen, we post every day. It could be a charity event, it could be an anniversary for your company, it could be a new personnel announcement, new product. Don't judge it. Send it to us. We look at everything. Very tough to get in the magazine, but we have all these other platforms. We post all day long, and our turnaround time, 24, 48 hours. But the cool thing is when we send you the URL, we want you to share it. So it improves your SEO. Once again, search engine optimization. That's how Google
Mhm.
finds you on the web. And it's a win-win. So the more stuff that you send to me, the better off you're going to be because look, and I'm looking for content. Content is addicting. So is data. Data is addicting these days. And if you can take data and content and learn from it, you can market on the web in 2025. And learn all the ins and outs and learn some technology along the way. So, uh, if there was one positive thought or phrase that you want to leave with our listeners, what would it be as we finish up the second month of Q1?
Just hire good people. That's what I've always followed. Don't shoehorn them in. Most of the people I've ever hired, I didn't know what they were going to do for me yet. So hire good people, and that ties with a lot of the themes we've talked about here.
Yeah. I always say when like yourself, you want to replace yourself. So if you're hiring
Yeah,
someone, if you were gonna hire yourself, does that person have the same kind of qualities, or could you teach them if they have an open mind?
right.
So
You can teach the
uh,
skills. Yeah,
yeah, yeah, exactly. I tell people all the time that when I was on running the rec teams and the parents would come up to me, they're like, "How can my son get better?" I said, "It's called wall ball. Have him throw the ball 200 times with both hands. He can run. I know he can run. I don't have to teach him how to do that, but if he can't catch and throw, he's not going to be able to, he won't be a good lacrosse player. If he can catch and throw, we can teach him the plays. He can run. I,
yeah,
he's done. So
yeah.
don't make it difficult. Keep it simple and learn the basics and then get really good at everything that you do. So I totally agree. So a couple things before we finish up. Number one, if you're on the construction site, we want you to be safe. We want you to get home, be able to have dinner with your family, your spouse, your husband, your wife, kids, pets, grandparents, whatever, whoever's at the house. We want you to get home, have some fun, get some REM sleep, get up and be able to do it the next day. Number two, liquefy. You gotta drink. Listen, you're gonna drink water all day. Put some electrolytes in there, but if you keep your body looking, this is the athlete in me. If when you get dehydrated, you make a lousy pass. You drop passes. You get a headache. It's no fun. So if you don't stay liquefied and I don't care if it's winter or summer, if you don't stay hydrated during the day, you're not going to have a good day, or you won't have the best day that you could have. So if you drink a lot of water and put the electrolytes in there, you're going to feel better. You're going to get better sleep. And you're going to be able to do it, the next day. Last thing, hit the like button. We want to find this episode out in the algorithms and so we can hear Miss Kimberly's story. So make sure you hit that like button. So, any last words as we finish up?
Just be a lifelong learner.
All right.
Yeah,
Uh,
thank you, David.
yeah, no, this was great. I was excited to see you, and I'm glad that we got you on there. And what's the next show you're doing? What do you got coming down the pike?
You mean trade show or
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
mostly it's conference season for most of the associations. So kind of
Mhm.
hopping from place to place there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, like World of Concrete, it was, it's coming up or it was, I
It
can't.
was. It
Yeah.
was a
Yeah,
couple,
we got
yeah.
KBIS and IBS this week out in Vegas. And I mean, I was walking probably 30 or 40 shows a year. I mean,
Wow.
those things. And walked a lot of miles. And uh, when March 2020 came, everything I didn't walk anything for like 2 or 3 years, and then last year I went back. I told my wife I got to go back on there. I got to see who's around, and it was really cool going back because there were some people that retired, some people passed, some people went to new firms, because of mergers and this and that. It was really cool to see people. You can't replace
You can't
face
replace
to
that. No.
face. You,
Yeah.
you just can't, but this is a nice way to do it easily. But face to face is definitely irreplaceable in my opinion. So, um, with that, listen, everybody, it's Tuesday, tomorrow's hump day, and then boom, TGIF, and then another weekend. Close out the second month, and then I'm telling you, it is the most amazing time to be alive. It's the golden age, and I can't even keep up with what's going on in the news. I go to bed at night, I look at my phone, I'm like, oh wow, I missed that. I didn't see that all day. But there's so many I can't even keep up with it all. But it's amazing. You're seeing history in the making of what's going on in the country, in the world, and construction. It keeps on humming along. And if you know anybody that's in fifth to eighth grade, plant the seed. Help us.
Yeah.
We get
Yep.
one, that's one less person than we have to worry about. All right. And don't worry about the plumber jokes because when he's making millions of dollars, he doesn't care about those plumber jokes. He's laughing with you and not, not at them. So, Kimberly, say goodbye from Northwestern Wisconsin on the lake.
Thank you for having me.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'm going to sign off from Sugar Hill, just below the Beaver Dam on Lake Lanier. And beautiful day up there. I'll go check out how much paint they got done later in the day. And everybody, have a great rest of the week. Have a great rest of the year. Blinders on, positive smile on your face, and have fun. And we will see you next time on another episode of Commercial Construction Coffee Talk. Kimberly, can't wait to be on your podcast. I'm going to take you up on that.
Awesome. Awesome.
All
You'll get
right.
the invite. Thank you.
Cheers, everybody.